Good afternoon and welcome to today's session. So, I'm going to say something slightly uncomfortable right now. If you are already operating at a senior level, overthinking is no longer neutral. It's expensive, not emotionally, professionally. You don't freeze, you don't go blank, you're not incapable, you're functioning. You're prepared, you're respected, and yet something is slipping. Not your English, not your intelligence, your authority. And the reason this is dangerous is because it doesn't explode, it erodes. Sentence by sentence, meeting by meeting, perception by perception. And because it's subtle, you can tell yourself it's fine, but it's not fine, not at senior level. Let me walk you through a moment. And I want you to see this almost in slow motion. You're in a leadership meeting, there's pressure. Maybe there's disagreement. Maybe there's urgency. Maybe you know what you say next will shape the direction. Someone senior turns to you and asks, "What's your recommendation?" Pause. Inside your brain, two things happen instantly. First, clarity. You know the answer, you've done the analysis, you've reviewed the data, you've considered the risks, you're not guessing. Second, monitoring. Say it correctly. Don't sound too direct. Don't make a grammar mistake. Don't sound aggressive. Don't sound weak. Don't get interrupted. Will I be understood? Will I understand? Now your cognitive load doubles, trebles, quadruples. Instead of simply delivering your conclusion, you begin building towards it. You say, well, there are a few things we need to consider. You add context. You justify before you conclude. You protect yourself before you state your position. And by the time you finally say, so I think maybe we could, dot, 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 it sounds optional, even if internally it was firm. Let me ask you something. How many of you think of the clean, sharp version of your answer 10 minutes after the meeting ends? The delay is not incompetence. It's what happens when pressure collapses structure. In your head, it feels responsible, careful, professional, considered. But senior rooms don't reward visible effort. They reward visible clarity. They're scanning for direction, synthesis, decisiveness, not grammar accuracy, not linguistic perfection. Speed of clarity signals leadership. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Hesitation, even thoughtful hesitation, is often interpreted as uncertainty. Not because that interpretation is fair, but because it's fast, and senior environments operate on fast interpretation. You may still be respected, you may still be valued, but influence shifts. People stop turning to you first. Your recommendation becomes one option of many instead of the anchor. And that shift is rarely announced, it just happens. Clarity is read as competence. That equation doesn't change at senior level. Here's where this becomes even more interesting. Because earlier in your career, over-explaining worked. Detail equaled diligence. Context signaled intelligence. Caution showed professionalism. You were praised for thoroughness. You were rewarded for demonstrating your thinking. So you built a habit. Prove your competence by explaining it. That pattern kept you safe. It helped you integrate, helped you survive high standards. But leadership changes the rule. At senior level, conclusion first, then context. Economy of language, controlled tone. Let me show you something. Version A. Well, I think maybe we could consider delaying because there are a few risks and perhaps ... Version B. We should delay by 2 weeks. The operational risk outweighs the short-term gain. Which one sounds senior? Well, I think maybe we could consider delaying because there are a few risks and perhaps, or we should delay by 2 weeks. The operational risk outweighs the short-term gain. Exactly. It's the same intelligence, different structure, different authority signal. If your structure doesn't evolve with your level, friction appears. It's not dramatic failure, it's subtle friction. And subtle friction slows progression. Sometimes you don't explain. You stay silent. You leave the meeting thinking, I knew exactly what I should have said. One of my clients told me, I was so angry with myself. And that anger matters because repeated silence erodes your internal authority. The next time you enter a meeting, you're not just contributing, you're proving to yourself that you can. That doubles pressure, and cognitive overload destroys clarity first. This is not about language level. It's not about vocabulary. It's about structure under pressure. Another one of my clients told me, I didn't realize how often I said, I think maybe. She wasn't unsure, she was protecting herself while speaking. And then she shifted to, I recommend. The room responded differently. Not because she changed personality, because she changed structure. Most of you already know that you should be concise, lead with the conclusion, stop over-explaining. You've read it, you've heard it, you've tried it. So why hasn't it changed? Because pressure hijacks recall. When you feel evaluated, working memory shrinks. Self-monitoring increases. Emotional threat spikes. Your brain always prioritizes safety, not structure. The clean sentence you prepared disappears. The framework you understood doesn't surface fast enough. So you default to thinking out loud. This is why tips don't stick. Not because you didn't understand them, but because understanding is not automation. Senior communication cannot rely on remembering advice. It requires installed structure that survives the stress, structure that becomes your default. At senior level, the cost isn't embarrassment, it's influence. If your recommendation sounds optional, it becomes optional. If your tone sounds tentative, it's treated as tentative. You may still be respected, but you won't be seen as decisive. And decisiveness drives visibility. Authority rarely disappears dramatically. It leaks sentence by sentence, day by day, month by month. I know many of you won't comment on this. Senior women rarely announce this publicly. But if you are recognizing yourself right now, that recognition matters because you see it clearly. And once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. Overthinking once protected you. It helped you to integrate. It helped you to avoid mistakes. It helped you to meet high standards. But if you're still relying on effort at senior level, you will always leave meetings tired. Effort is exhausting. Structure is stabilizing. When structure is installed, you lead with the conclusion. You hold the floor. You summarize without apologizing. You disagree without dilution. You answer without spiraling. Not just because you remembered a tip, but because it's automatic. That is the shift. And that shift changes perception immediately. Immediately. If you're listening and thinking, this is exactly what happens to me, you don't need to comment publicly. You don't need to announce it. If you're quietly wondering whether the March cohort of the Executive Voice Foundations is the right step for you, I'm happy to talk it through privately. Just message me. Message me the word foundations. I'll send you the details. This is not a sales call. This is a conversation to check whether this is the right step for you. Clarity is read as competence.